Welcome everyone. Jasmine Pather here with Photo Booth International Podcast. I have a special guest today. Her name is Yolanda Villa, and she is based out of the Bay Area in California. She is a wife, entrepreneur, and mom. So I think that we're going to have a great conversation today. Thank you so much for coming on, Yolanda.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up as an entrepreneur.
Well, initially, this was not even my plan.
Yeah.
I first of all, I had my kids, my son young, right at like I was around 19,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to stop college, and I've always been the 9 to 5 routine kind of person. And I actually got into real estate as a property manager. And with the whole 2008 recession,
Mm-hmm.
my husband went into construction. And so we were trying to find, what to do, how to do it. And it ended up being that I started my property management company. And a couple of months later, he started his construction company.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle because first it was just both of us and my company. And then when we separated, it was kind of butting heads of, you're going to help me, you're going to help me, who's going to deal with the kids? Yeah.
Wonderful. So how long ago was that, you said?
When I did it, it was in 2013 when I started my business, and it was a completely different what I was accustomed to.
Mhm.
I'm the boss. I'm the one that has to do everything from marketing to selling to getting the clients, and it was a little difficult for me because my husband had been the one that was upfront, the salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he left to do his own thing, I was like, oh, I have to do that too.
So you're a bit intimidated by the sales side of your business.
Right. Because I was confident in the administration, the office, the
Mm-hmm.
marketing, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the selling, had never been like my strong point or something that I was used to.
Yeah.
So that was a little difficult for me.
So how did you overcome that?
Just going out there, there was nobody I could rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like, well, if I want this to grow, I have to be out there doing it. He's
Yeah.
busy growing his company.
Yeah.
Like, and then once I started doing that, I started getting comfortable, and it was growing, but at the same time, he was growing his company and his was growing much faster.
I see.
So it was one of those things where, what do I do? Do we sit
Mm-hmm.
here and, do those things, or am I more valuable in his company? Because he was a great, salesperson. He's getting bigger, but the office staff, he didn't have that. He was trying to do it all, and I was still helping him. So I was burning myself out doing
Mm-hmm.
my thing, and then afterwards trying to handle his stuff.
I see. So it was basically do or die. You're like, I have to just go out there and just try it.
Definitely, yes.
I can relate to that because you hear sales and you get intimidated by it, right? And
Yes.
to all of our listeners, Yolanda and I connected through 10X, Grant and Elena Cardone. So I'm sure you've read the book, several of their books, and they talk about everyone is selling, right? Everyone
Right.
sells at one point or another. We sell whenever we're recommending our favorite dish or our favorite restaurant to a friend, right?
Dealing with their kids, we're always telling them something.
That's true. I don't have kids yet,
Yeah.
but Yolanda, you're a mom. So yeah, I'm sure that you have to sell them on, doing their chores or picking up after themselves and
Yes,
contributing to the
definitely.
household in some way. So that's amazing. I love that. So are you currently still working like independently from your husband, or you guys work as a team?
No, we now work as a team, and now that you brought up Elena and Grant, we were a power struggle.
Uh-huh.
Um, my family, like you said, I'm a Latina.
Yes.
So my family was raised in my family was the woman works, the husband works, they contribute and everything. My husband's side was more the husband provides, the woman stays at home. So
Mm-hmm.
it was never brought upon me, his stuff, but it was like I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was always a power struggle with me myself and trying to well, I want to keep my business, like,
Mm-hmm.
and Elena, and listening to the G&E show,
Yes.
it kind of got into me, like, why are we fighting instead of us being stronger together?
Yeah.
And I decided to let go of my property management company and go full on board with his business, since I saw that it was growing faster
Mm-hmm.
and than mine. And I think since then, I mean, it's always difficult in the beginning working with your
Yes.
spouse.
I agree.
But now we're pretty good to where work is work, personal life is personal life.
Yeah.
So now we're it kind of worked out perfectly, because I'm doing the whole office, the marketing for the business, and he's out there doing the sales.
Nice. So it sounds like you guys clearly identify your roles and where each of
Yes.
you has, strengths and weaknesses. So that's kind of the same situation as me and my husband. Uh, we work together and we found a balance at this point after I think close to 6 years working together now. But in the beginning, there was definitely also a power struggle there. I'm also a Latina, first generation Mexican American. And so for me, like you said earlier, I resonate with your story because you were talking about how you were struggling to go from 9 to 5 regular job to, okay, I have to do the entrepreneur world now. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, learning to do things on your own. And in hindsight, Josh and I talk about this all the time. We're like, man, I wish I would have known this before we started, or I wish we would have had a mentor to guide us,
Right.
right? And when Josh, my husband, started the photo booth rental company, he was like 22, 23.
Hmm.
So very young entrepreneur. And so there was a lot of things that he didn't know. He didn't know about Grant Cardone. He didn't know about books, the value that books can bring,
Yes.
right? And so what are, maybe a couple things that you can think of that you wish you would have known, that you learned the hard way and that you think could provide some value to our listeners today?
And the same thing with us. We were young. We were a young couple, in the business world. So, um, we made a lot of mistakes. And you said the same thing. Like, I wish I would have, asked, called somebody up and asked and just followed or had mentors, because same thing with us. We would listen to some podcasts and some things, but we weren't really, into the entrepreneur world. We were just kind of, going, everything, day by day.
Mm-hmm.
One of the tips I would say is just ask for help. Your community, uh, read books, and always, I think it's your mindset,
Yes.
and knowing that you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay as long as you learn from them. Because I think we were very like, every time we got like a small hit, or something, it was like, oh my gosh. But it was always just telling ourselves, like, we gotta keep going, we have to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How important do you feel like it was to make that decision to join him full time and let go of your business?
It was hard. The stability
Yeah.
of a regular paycheck, both of us depending on that one income,
Mm-hmm.
was very difficult. And then even just us as a couple, the communication, because it was in the beginning, like you said, butting heads, power struggle. If something happened in the office, either me or him would take it home, and if there was arguments at home, it would be brought on, to the. So it was really difficult in the beginning, just trying to communicate.
Yeah.
But as time went on, we learned, okay, nothing personal. It's business. We gotta go, and we're at the end of the day in the same team. We're trying to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes as soon as you hear that, like we're on the same team, but sometimes we fight as though we're on the opposite team, right? Because
Yes.
it's our ego, really, when you think about it. We're so stuck on wanting to be right, or um, well, he can't win, or I have to have the last word in.
Yeah.
But when you think about it like that, and that's why I do resonate, and I really like following Elena Cardone, because she talks about this empire, right? She talks
Yeah.
about building the empire and how you know, everyone that's within your immediate circle plays a role within this empire, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're the queen, he's a king, and you each have your roles that support each other, and it's all for the ultimate goal of growing your empire, you know, having a stable
Yeah.
income, a future legacy for your kids, right? And
Yes.
so I think, like you said, it's the mindset. As soon as you realize, okay, this is much bigger than this tit for tat game that we tend to play with each
Yes.
other sometimes. So let's just let it go, move on. Is it really that important? Do we really, is this really worth picking a fight over, you know?
Yes. I remember on her, I was there for the first tennis growth con.
Yeah.
And I remember her talking about, them and then, even if she gets her, her nails dirty or whatnot, like she's going to help Grant, and
Mm-hmm.
that resonated with me because I felt like that, like whatever needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, whatever it is, whether it's office, whether he needs something or whatever, I need to go ahead and do it because it's the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Latinos, that's how we're raised, right? It's like you do what you're supposed to do to make sure that, you know, you make progress, or
Definitely.
that, you know, the perseverance and the attitude that we have, I think, as Latinos really, I think is admirable, because we know that it takes hard work to get stuff done, and we're willing to put in the work, right? For the most part, most of us.
Yeah.
I'll speak for most of us.
Actually, I was just telling my husband this a couple of weeks ago. We were stressing about work and just the whole what everything's going on with the world right now. Like it's just, it's so hard to handle. And I was telling him, like, I can't imagine my mom, she passed away when, 6 years ago, but I remember her when she had to raise us. It was seven of us. And she was working out in the fields and then working out in a factory. And I was like, can you imagine that her, the opportunities or, the language barrier, and she still went,
Yeah.
working and still handle the kids. And then I'm like, I'll be fine. Anything that I can, if she can handle it, I'll be good.
Yeah, all you have to do is think about how hard our parents had it, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, they can do that. This should be a piece of cake, or I shouldn't complain
Yes,
too much.
definitely.
Sometimes we complain about things that our parents would be like, what? That's nothing. We'll figure it out. You know,
Seriously.
there's where there's a will, there's a way type of thing. And so
Yes.
I think that that makes us unique, and that makes us resilient and strong. So thank you for sharing that. I love that. Where are your parents from, by the way?
They're from Puebla.
Puebla. Okay.
Yeah.
My parents are from San Luis Potosí.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there twice. I've been wanting to take my kids,
How old are your kids?
13 and 8.
Okay. So they're at a really good age, I think. Like you
Yes.
you communicate pretty well with each other, and you're kind of building strong relationships with them.
Definitely, yeah. It was in the beginning, I think it was easier when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
As they got older and the activities, it was harder to, to manage. You're growing your business and you're growing your babies.
Yeah. Tell me
But
more about
now,
that.
yeah, but now they're at that point where they know what the plan is for the family, for the business. My son, helps out, with the office, with little things. Same thing with my daughter. And so we try to get them in the same mindset. And everybody had, like, they say everybody has a role in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're pretty much, focused on those goals, what we have, and everything like that.
I love that. So 13 and 8.
Yes.
Okay. And so what type of activities do you get them involved in as far as the business goes?
Well, with my son, he knows if he wants to earn extra money for chores or whatever, then he'll come and help around the office, help his dad clean the tools, or on the weekends with the trucks. And so he gets very excited for that. My daughter, she's younger, so it's pretty much papers, wiping down the counters, the tables and whatnot. But it's just the same thing. It's letting them know, hey, even the days that we have to work late or whatnot, you guys need to focus, on your thing. What are you guys gonna do? Because we have to be late for work, be
Mm-hmm.
working late, and they understand that now.
What advice would you give to someone like me, right? Like we don't have kids yet, and our business does take a lot of the time, right? So how do you find that balance, and what advice do you have for someone like me that is in a huge business
Yeah.
and doesn't quite know how kids are going to fit into their lifestyle?
First of all, I don't think, and I've always said it, I don't think there's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get stuck on those expectations that everything has to be perfect, then you're going to guilt yourself when things don't go right. Because I did a lot of that. I felt like, oh, I'm spending so much time in my business, and my kids would be in the office with us. But I felt like, well, I'm not really interacting with them or, keeping them busy. But I realized it was about quality time, not like quantity. So those times that we did spend together, we would make it fun and it was just about them. And then I would say, ask for help. Once you have kids, I felt like, okay, I could do it all. And I had to decide like, no, I cannot do it all because I'm going to burn out.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was asking for help, whether it was watching them, someone watching them. It was delegating chores from
Mm-hmm.
the house or the office to where, okay, now, someone come cleaning the house,
Mm-hmm.
or, the groceries being delivered. Those little
Mm-hmm.
moments, instead of spending time doing that, I rather spend that time with the kids.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna tie this into being a Latina, right? Because growing up, like you said, seeing our moms work with so little, but yet like make such a great impact and make sure that, you know, from my experience, my dad would get up at the crack of dawn. He's always been a delivery driver, and
Okay.
so back then he would wake up like at 4:30 in the morning, and my mom would wake up, same time, even though she went to bed later than he did. She would cook him his lunch. She would pack it. Then she would, at the time we only had one vehicle, so she'd get up, take him to work, come back, take a little nap, wake up, get us ready for school, get us going for school. And uh, just seeing how she did that made me feel like, okay, like you have to do it all, right? Because you see
Yeah.
that that's how your mom did it.
Yeah.
And she was always very attentive to everyone else's needs. But now that I look at it, 2020, hindsight 2020, I see, wow, like she didn't take care of herself, she
Yes.
neglected herself. And so I think that that's very important to realize as Latinas, is that although our moms, did 10 times what we do today, in
Hmm.
my opinion, that doesn't mean that we have to follow that exact blueprint. It just means we have to be a bit smarter. And, we're in a position where we are, if we're blessed enough to be able to hire someone to
Yes.
come and clean or to babysit or do whatever it is that we need help with, there's no shame in that, right? Because
Yes.
sometimes I struggled with that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, like maybe like 8 years ago. My husband, Josh, he's Indian, but South African Indian.
Okay.
And he came to the US when he was 11.
Oh.
And I was born and raised here in Texas, but my parents are obviously Mexican. So for me, it was like, it was instilled in me as a young girl. This is how you're a wife. This is what you're going to be like. You're going to have to cook for him and clean for him, and you're going to have to make sure that that you're keeping a hold of the household. And but obviously here we are in this age where we're entrepreneurs, we're
More
bosses.
independent and doing more stuff. Yeah.
Yes, we're so much more independent than our mothers were back then. And
Yes.
so that's where I had a struggle. And Josh was like, we need to hire a housemaid, to come and help us like every other week or something, or someone to come do laundry. And Yolanda, I kid you not, we had an argument about it because I was like, I couldn't let it go. I could
Yeah.
not let it go, because to me it was like, no, like that's my job, and I can't
Exactly.
let
Yeah.
that go. And I would be ashamed for someone to wash my underwear, and so I think it's important to talk about this, because again, we're taught like oh, esto es lo que tienes que hacer, and, para ser una buena mujer. And even my dad would,
Definitely.
say the same things.
Yeah.
And, oh, hazle de comer a tu esposo, like make food for your husband and blah, blah, blah. But times have changed, and so
Yes.
I think that it's important to talk about this and make sure that any Latinas or any other minority women that are listening that, are in business and you're overworking yourself, girl, you need to just, it's okay.
Delegate some stuff.
Delegate some of that stuff, give it away. Think about, you know, it's a money game, right? When you think
Yeah.
about it, if it's going to take you 2 hours on a Saturday to do cleaning around the house and do your laundry, you know, how much of that time could be invested into your business?
Yes.
Or if you're a mom, right? Like time with your children is invaluable. So, paying someone $150 to come clean your house, I mean, that's well worth it to me.
Definitely. And when you said that your husband brought it up, that's what happened to me. I was like stressing and overwhelmed. And like you
Yes.
said, even like, you said about your mom, I was the one going to sleep later because once the kids were in bed, it was like clean up because I know that I have to, do all this over again the next day.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, we should have someone come, weekly and clean. And same thing, I was like, and I was like, no, like, what do you think? And I was like, what is our family going to say, my sister? And he was like, well, you can't do it and I can't help you. Like, it's
Yeah.
just so there's something that you don't have to worry about. But to
Mm-hmm.
me, like same thing, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Once, we started doing that, I was like, why didn't I do this sooner?
I know, same. I feel the exact same way. Now, during COVID, we had paused cleaning
Yeah.
just because we were trying to be really careful. And we skipped it for like, I think, a month and a half. And I was like, oh, I miss my housekeeper so much.
Same thing here. Even then you think like you're at home and you think,
Yeah.
but you're still working. With me, I still had the kids. The house was messier faster.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think we're safe.
Yes.
Like I said, a month and a half in or so. Same thing we did. But I think it's that with, women is just delegating and just
Mm-hmm.
telling yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. It's okay to ask for
Exactly.
help, whether it's childcare, with this house and groceries, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not doing it for work or for your kids, if you need that time to go to the gym stress free,
Yeah.
just time for yourself, I think we need to give ourselves permissions to
Yes.
just ask for it.
Yes. Amen. I love that. Yes. 100% agree with you. Now, while we're talking about being Latina and how it's been hard for us to let go of these things, do you feel like you've had to hustle harder because you're Mexican or you're a
um
minority?
yes and no.
Mhm.
I think our issue or thing was I think that resonates, I think, more with my husband. With me, it had to do with being young and a woman
Hmm.
in the construction world.
Yeah.
So when we started out and we were trying to get these big contracts, they were like, well, who's your boss? And we kind of were like, us, And so most of the time they wouldn't. And so I
Mm.
think that was one of the things that pushed me to tell my husband, who had been in construction all his life, was we need to do things differently. We need to, if you think about construction at the time, when he was growing up, they were on social media, they weren't branding themselves, and so with me, I started branding the company. I wanted them, a certain look, a certain
Mhm.
uniform, and I was trying to get that, clientels that, bigger contracts. And
Yes.
so once we did that, and then there was one contractor, which we did a lot of like big projects. And then he, like, 6 months into we doing different projects, he's like, who's the boss? Like, you guys are great. And my husband was like, oh, it's me, my wife, the one that's, accounting. And they were surprised, like, how young are you guys? How you guys get experience? So I think to me, it was me personally was being a woman and just young, because we were dealing with people that were older, and it was just a little they didn't really trust us,
Mm-hmm.
that we knew what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that?
It was just, we had to work harder on our image. We had to work harder on our services, on our products, and making sure that we stood out from competition. And once we did that, I mean, we just kind of grew from, word of mouth.
Okay.
And it was something that in the beginning of the business we didn't do, but towards, the middle, a couple years in, was our employees and everybody on the team was, this is our values, this is what we believe, and then this is what, if it doesn't align with us, then you're probably not going to work here, because
Mm-hmm.
this is what we expect from everybody, and being in a certain standard. And so I think with once us doing that, it just helped us with our clients.
I love that. Yeah, definitely coming up with thinking about what is our mission as a company
Mm-hmm.
and what are we here to do? What are our values and thinking of the dream customer and then kind of working in reverse, right? Thinking, okay, what would this dream
Yes.
customer want from a construction company? How would they want to be
Yes.
talked to? Um, what type of imagery on social media would draw them in, right? It's like all thinking, getting inside their head and then working that way.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what we did. I was like, we need to be presentable, we need to be uniform. And I remember we would tell, our guys that would work in with us at the time, we were like, it's construction, we want you, clean shirt, tools clean, everything. And they were like, what? Because, sometimes they had to go back to the job site and they're like, what are you talking? I'm like, no, but these aren't regular clients. We're trying to, and so I remember like there was always reviews and they would call us and they would say, oh my god, like you guys are not what we expect from a construction company, which was, we would call them on time, answer their emails, everything, and they'll be like, oh, okay.
And when you think about it, it's all things that you would expect from any company, right? Not necessarily like it's not specific to construction only. We kind of experienced something similar when we were growing. Um, I think one of the reasons why we were able to grow in the first year, my husband, this was before I came on board,
Mhm.
he was able to grow the photo booth rental company to six figures in 1 year.
uh,
And I think what contributed to that was honestly the competitors wouldn't pick up the phone. People would call and they'd be interested to book an event, whether it be 6 months out, this coming weekend, and other companies weren't picking up the phone, and he was. And
yeah.
so it's just something as simple as that that can really make all the difference with your business, even when it comes back to how do you guys market? Like, um, do you have I mean, I would think you wouldn't have that many repeat customers, or I'm not familiar with the construction world. So can you tell me a little bit about your marketing strategy?
When we first started out, like I said, it was word of mouth. That we would just literally send out flyers to general contractors. We actually do just drywall, which is the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would send out flyers. Once, money started coming in and everything, then we invested more in online marketing, Yelp, Facebook ads, and things like that.
Okay.
And it was just something that we did. We started doing videos, and just so customers would know us, know who was going to be coming into their home,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time the general contractor, it's an empty house, we go and do the work, but we wanted to go into the residentials, repairs and things like that, so we had to
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and like I said, social media was our main thing.
I see. Yeah, I love that. Putting a face to the name, right? That's important.
Yes, definitely. That was one thing that we had to do. And at first, it was a little, like I said, a little intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
getting for customers to know us
Yes.
and things like that, because sometimes like I said, we're married, we have the kids, and it was just involving them in part of it, and then seeing us and seeing our team members, and I think that's what helped us a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna give you kudos because you told me that you guys ranked in the top 50 of the
Yeah.
fastest growing private companies in California by Inc.
Yes.
magazine. So that's
Yes.
an awesome accomplishment. I mean, you're obviously
Yes.
doing great. I mean, um, we ranked 63rd or 67, I can't remember now, for Texas.
Good.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we were very happy to hear that. And I mean, California is, as big as Texas, so I'm sure the competition is stiff over there. And for you
Yeah.
guys to make the top 50, that's a huge accomplishment.
And
All while
I
being a mom and, like juggling several things. So I think that's amazing.
no, and then like the same thing, congratulations to you guys, because when I can guarantee you when you started, you wouldn't even think, or I don't know if that was even a goal. Like, when you start off a company, it's like, is this gonna work or whatnot? And I
Mhm.
think, being in that, list was such an accomplishment for
Yeah,
us. Because
definitely a proud moment.
yes, because people see that, but they don't see everything that has to go through to
Yeah,
get there.
it's the iceberg effect, right?
Yes.
You see that peak at the top and you're like, wow, and you just marvel at it. But deep down, there's just this big crater underneath of all the self-doubt, all of the, and a lot of it is we put that on ourselves, right? I'm speaking for myself
Yeah.
because uh, we often think, oh no, that's not for me, or that's too hard, or um, no, I've never done it before, so it can be intimidating, or
Yeah.
I don't know about having my face on camera. I don't know if that's me. But
Yeah.
when you think about it, sometimes we compare our beginnings to other people's ends, and I'm guilty of this. I've done it in the past, and so I always just have to take a step back and remind myself, okay, they were once beginners too. They didn't
Right.
just come out on top out of nowhere. So I think that's important to remind ourselves of.
Yes, I love that you say that, because I think even with me, I've always said that I would put so many expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, what I would put on myself, and I would be hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you see the competitors, or you see the
Mm-hmm.
people, and you see them in their companies, and you're like, when am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? And um, people don't notice that. People don't know, the journey, that everything, and just giving yourself, like I said, just permission to, it's okay. There's going to be, failures. It's like they say, if you're tired, take a break, don't quit. And it's just, that's part of, being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Um, any final tips that you have for Latina business owners, or a future Latina business owner, someone that's considering starting their own business?
I would say don't be intimidated. That was one thing that I was. I would be intimidated. Like you said, I would see um, bigger, companies, bigger businesses, and I would always feel like it wasn't the right time,
Mm-hmm.
or, oh, I can't push forward. And then I had to tell myself, like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it. And there's going to be critics, there's going to be clients that are not for you, and
Yes.
it's okay. Not
Yes.
everyone's going to like your product, your service. Just keep going.
I love
And
that.
I think that's the main thing, and just giving yourself permission that everything's going to be all right. You're, especially right now with social media, everything, people make it seem like it's perfect, and the house is clean, and the kids are great, and the business is going good. And I always try to say, like, it's not like that
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
behind the closed doors. It is not. You're going to struggle, and that's okay. Like I said, just give yourself permission, pretty much, to keep moving forward, and know that there's going to be, setbacks or whatnot, but just keep going.
I love that. I think that that's the same philosophy I have, same mindset that I have, because I had the same struggles. And there's times when we stop because when we don't take action because we think it has to be perfect, or, I'm not there yet. I'm not an expert yet. But uh, taking that first step is the most important step, I think. And just knowing you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
as long as you're actively trying, and as long as you have people's best interest at heart, and that you really want to make some sort of impact with the customer base that you're pursuing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's really what's going to help you along the way. You live and you learn, and you might get, you might fall down, but you get back up and you just keep trying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I love this conversation. Tell us where people can find you.
On Facebook and Instagram, you can go to Mom, Wife, and Boss Life, and then on my website, Mom, Wife, and Boss Life, and then those will give you also links to the podcast, the blog, and just also my social media handles.
Yeah, guys. So make sure to follow her. Like she said, she also has a podcast. So make sure to check her out. What type of topics do you talk about on your podcast?
I kind of talk about my journey, what I'm struggling with at the moment, and then I also have guest interviews, and they kind of go, whether it's the wellness, with health, any, different types of industries and what they're going through.
Love it. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you guys go and follow Yolanda, and I hope you guys found some value in this awesome podcast episode today. Make sure to go back and re-listen, or make sure to catch up on any past episodes you might have missed. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.